Make sure it's on. Hello, I think we're on. We're gonna see. There we are. And we got sound. So hey everybody, it's Monday night, 6 p.m. You know we're coming. We laid that last week. Went to a tent revival down in Nashville. God blessed. And got to connect with some people down there. This week we've just been turned on cloud nine. We was putting up some more signs over the weekend, and the ones that say everybody has a problem no one can fix. And man, I tell you what, that's the truest thing. My dad always said that, Randy, we all got stuff. Yours just gets put in a paper. So if we all realize we've all made mistakes, we've all fell short, and hey, newsflash, we still do. We still make mistakes. Ain't nobody out there batting 1,000. I promise you that. But here's the difference today. Ashley, we try. We're going to keep trying. So we've got our sister here ready to share and to talk about, what some of her problems was and what helped her out. And so when you're driving around town, you see those signs. Hey, just be sure to remember it ain't one person. I want everybody to know that. That's why I take the pictures and share it out there so everybody knows that it's more than one person doing this. There's a lot of people behind it. Some people won't even let me tell you who they are. They just want to be a blessing and an encouragement to people. So, as always, I speak for just a couple minutes. Ashley's nervous, so be sure to leave her a comment, like, share, not for me, not for her, but there's somebody out there that's struggling. There's somebody out there that needs to hear what's being said tonight. We've already got new friend requests from people that we don't even know that have heard about these testimonies, and they want to hear, they want to be encouraged. People are seeking the answer. And guess what? We got it. I know what the answer is. So we're going to let our sister jump on here and tell you a little bit of her story, share her heart with you. Love every one of you, and I'll see you in a little bit.
No. All right. Hello, my name is Ashley Hammonds, and I'm honored to be able to be here tonight and share my story with you guys. I'd like to start it off with a prayer. So, Heavenly Father, Lord, I thank you that I'm able to be here tonight, Lord God. I ask that you move me out of the way, Lord, and you speak through me, Father. Help the ones that are out there that need this, and help my story to help someone else, Lord. I ask that you just calm me, and the Holy Spirit, come through to touch someone, Lord. And I ask you this in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, guys, so I got a couple scriptures I wanted to start out with, and it starts in the book of Psalms, and it's Psalms 38, and it starts at verse 4. And this is David, the psalmist, and he, in the Bible, he was a man after God's own heart, and, he had done a lot wrong, and this tells of how bad it got for him. And when I read it, it just has always touched me, because this is how bad it was for me this last time when I was out in my addiction. So I'll start out Psalm 38:4. So it says, "For mine iniquities are gone over mine head, as an heavy burden, they are too heavy for me. My wounds stink and are corrupt because of my foolishness. I am troubled, I am bowed down greatly. I go mourning all the day long. For my loins are filled with a loathsome disease, and there is no soundness in my flesh. I am feeble and sore broken. I have roared by reason of disquietness of my heart. Lord, all my desire is before thee, and my groaning is not hid from thee. My heart panteth, my strength faileth me, as for the light of mine eyes. It also is gone from me." When I read that, it makes me emotional, because, when you see that picture of me that was posted me in the hospital, I didn't realize how bad I was. But when I look at it, I know that the light in my eyes were gone. And I didn't have the strength to even pray, but there were people out there praying for me. and interceding on my behalf. And so the next verse I'm going to go to is what happened when God picked me up. So it is Psalm 40, and it starts at verse 1. I waited patiently for the Lord, and he inclined unto me, and heard my cry. He brought me up also out of an horrible pit, out of the miry clay, and set my feet upon a rock, and established my goings. And he hath put a new song in my mouth, even praise unto our God. Many shall see it and fear, and shall trust in the Lord. So now when I read this, it makes me happy, because he did come and he rescued me. He was always there, but he sent an army out to get me and catch me and pull me out. So I'll start. And I am nervous, so if it's a little scattered, I apologize. But I'll start out when I was young. And when I was a little girl, I had great, let's say, support system, because I had my grandparents on both sides that were just so involved, and then my mom. And when I was really young, my mom and dad were divorced. My dad, who's recovering now, he was an alcoholic. He had been into Desert Storm, and when he come back, he had a lot of problems from that. But I remember, I did have that good, stability from my grandparents and things. My grandfather always taught me about the Lord. He always, would tell me stories and how important it was that God was in my heart, and just he just raised me up that way, and I'm always so thankful for that. But my dad, he had, this problem, drinking problem, and from a young age you don't understand it. And we would get to go see him, and I would know, when he was drinking, and we'd stay the weekend and stuff. But it caused a lot of problems, and like I said, I didn't understand it. And there for a while, sometimes we didn't get to see him, and it was just back and forth. And he went through a lot, and we moved a lot. My mom had us, and she was doing the best that she could. And I believe it was 6 different schools that I went to altogether. And so you get used to going to a new school, meeting new people, and starting over. And she really tried, though, she always kept us together. She always would let us see Dad and our grandparents, my dad's side and then my mom's side. So we had that. But anyway, so I was always really good in school. I guess, was the good girl. I even though I switched and stuff, I stayed. I mean, my grades were really good. I was in cheerleading, and dated a guy for a long time throughout that time, and on a roll. Just, Mom was always proud of me. I tried to do good. And then when I was about 16, it was in 2003, we lost my grandmother on my mom's side, who was I was really, really close with her. And that was really hard. We never had a death in the family, or at least, while I was growing up. And my mom was just crushed, and it was hard to see her that way. And I forgot to mention that my mom and dad had been divorced from the time I was 5 to 16. Right before my grandma passed away, they get remarried. So they're together, and we lose her. So I feel like, they were each other's support system. And 2 months later, we lost my dad's dad. And my sister was extra close with them. This was hard on the family. I remember seeing Mom just crushed over Granny, and then turned around, and 2 months later, she's driving Dad from the graveyard with him devastated. And so it changed a lot. And so we moved to a town called Troy. I'm from West Tennessee. I grew up there, and we moved, and I was in my senior year, and I had my first job. I was working at Taco John's, and I met this guy. I was still dating the guy in high school I was talking about, but I met this other guy. And this is my oldest son's father. But I met him, and he wasn't in school anymore, and his family was on drugs and stuff, and I didn't really understand what all that was until I done got myself into it. And what happened is, you know, he would give me like a pill, hydrocodone, and I remember it would make me feel good, and then I could work and I'd have energy, and it just I wasn't scared of things anymore. I just felt good. And then I'd be fine, and then he'd give me another, and it just kind of kept on. Before I knew it, I started noticing I didn't feel real good unless I had it. I started like wanting them and needing them. And his mom was on them too, and I was around there a lot, and I just kind of was doing like her, thinking I was grown, and I was getting into something I had no idea it was about to change my life forever. Well, it wasn't just the pills. I did, he introduced me to cocaine. I tried it. I didn't even know when I did my first line. It made me feel so great. I remember going back home to my mom's and then coming down, and I was calling him like, why do I feel so bad? I mean, I didn't understand. I was so naive. I was like coming down off of it and wondering why I'm wanting more. And then methamphetamine, he introduced me to that also. And I remember I'd get high and then come home to my mom's and try to act like I was sleeping. I would almost hear it, like, think I heard her coming down the hall. I'd have school the next day. And I would end up calling him to come get me. And I ended up starting to skip school. There was an incident one time my dad come and found me and pulled me up out of the bed, and I just started being the person that I was definitely not before, and I still didn't understand why. I just felt like I was grown and I could do whatever I wanted, and and I didn't tell my mom and them that I was doing this stuff, of course, so she didn't understand. My sister had been in addiction and had been on meth, and so really the attention was more that way because it was dire, the situation she was in. So mine was more like undercover, and they just noticed I was starting to skip school and different things. I did end up graduating. I had to work hard at the end of the year to finish up to make sure that I did do that. Colleges sent me letters and stuff, but I ended up pregnant, and I wanted to be pregnant, and I was very happy, and I had tried to be, but I didn't. I wanted to wait, so I didn't end up going to college. I put that off, and I ended up having my oldest son, Bryson, in 2006, and also, during that pregnancy, I would still take stuff and everything. I was addicted, and I couldn't get past it. And I was living with his dad now. And my mom, I get closer to giving birth to him, and my mom lets us move in because his mom's house had burnt. And so we can't sleep in the same bedroom because we're not married, but yet we have a baby. So he was there also. And so things got a little more stable, and so I had Bryson. Well, I continued on, and me and Donnie ended up breaking up and not being together anymore. That's Bryson's dad. And I ended up meeting Michael, and Michael was totally against anything addiction. His sister had been on pills and stuff. One of the first questions he asked me was, "You don't take any pills or anything, do you?" And I was like, "No way." but I was. I knew all the pill dealers, and I would go to their houses. That's where my addiction was at that time. I had to have it every day to function, but I did it, and I hid it, and it was a lie. I was a lie. Our relationship was a lie, and so we do get together, and we end up getting a place together, and I end up getting pregnant in 2009 with my youngest son, Kyler, and I'm like, okay, this is getting hard to hide from him. And one of my friends, well, we'll say pill dealer's daughters, was going to a methadone clinic. I didn't really know what methadone was. I didn't really understand, but she was like, you can go to this clinic and be safe for your baby, and so anyway, I started going to it, and Michael didn't know any of this, and I was on the methadone with Kyler. And I remember the nurse telling me that I was an addict, and it would be something that I would be, dealing with the rest of my life. I still didn't understand all of it. I didn't understand that this was going to be such a big part of my life and such a fight to, take my life back. But I was on methadone with him. I didn't tell the doctors. I had started the methadone late in my pregnancy, and I had Kyler a month early, so I didn't even tell him my water broke, and we went straight to the hospital. And so, I was laying in that hospital bed with no one knowing, and they gave me a Stadol shot. And when they did, it knocked my body into withdrawal. And I still didn't tell anybody. The anesthesiologist come in, and I guess he gave me something to counteract the reaction. He thought I was having an allergic reaction, I guess. But my children were still protected. I gave birth to a healthy baby boy, and he was okay. Thank the Lord above, because, I was very selfish. And then, not telling them, and the risks and everything that could have happened looking back now. But anyway, I had my son, and Michael would work, and I was still trying to maintain this image. And so I think he ended up finding out that I went to the methadone clinic, and I ended up going to rehab, and I had to leave the boys behind, and that was my first time. And so I quit the methadone. I went into detox. I went to rehab. I come back, and I was just so great to see them. I went back into my life. This time the boys hadn't been taken, and I thought, okay, I can do it. But this right here is what I couldn't deal with. And I ended up thinking to myself, well, I've got to have the energy to be able to do this and be a good mom. That's how my thought process was. So I ended up going back to the dealers, and they sold methadone there, and getting back on the methadone and all that. Well, as it continued on, I ended up going to a doctor in Memphis, and he would give me methadone and Xanax. And if anybody knows, those two don't go together. It can actually kill you. That's when things got bad. Me and Michael split up. I was living back at my mom's with the boys. I ended up in a car accident. I had passed out driving and sideswiped a car. This was my first deal. I was driving on 3 wheels when they pulled me over in Dyer County, and they arrested me. And after Michael found out DCS was called, and I didn't even know that was coming. At that time, my sister had DCS involved with her, so she was fighting and doing the right thing, living at my mom's also. My mom had taken her daughter in, and so it was a lot on her, but she was trying to do everything she was supposed to. And one day they were there visiting my sister, and I was in the bedroom with my boys, and my mom comes and gets me and says that they wanted to speak with me. And so when they pulled me aside and started questioning me about my children and my addiction, I just kind of lost it and told them everything and told them the doctor I went to. And they told me that if I went to rehab, that, you know, first go to detox, then the boys could go with me. And so I did go into detox immediately. And it was like 3 days later, Michael went to get Kyler from my mom's, and he had went and got emergency temporary custody. And when I found that out in detox, I felt like that went against what we agreed on. So I left. Instead of doing the right thing, I left. When I left, they said I was mentally unstable and took my oldest boy also. So that began a fight that I just was too weak to do. And it's sad, and I hate to say that because you're supposed to fight for your kids. But when it started, when I started halfway doing it, trying, I couldn't get out of this addiction. So I tried a past drug test, and I felt one. I would get to visit with the boys, but it had to be supervised, like someone over you all the time. And I ended up getting an offer to go and stay in Alabama. Because I got bad, I just couldn't keep it together. They had asked my mom if she could take in my oldest son when they said I was mentally unstable. They asked if she could take him, but she couldn't at that time medically, and she had been trying with Amber for her daughter and just so much. So and he got put in foster care. And this was a family we didn't know. So anyway, long story short, Michael's brother and sister-in-law come to me and said that they would do what they could do and take him. And I thought, well, that'd be great because then my boys would be together, and they might not have the same dads, but they're brothers and they need to be together. So I did that, and that's when I would have the unsupervised visitation and all that. But like I said, I just kept doing, taking the pills and doing different things. But anyway, as it went on, my aunt Hannah, she lived in Alabama, and she gave me an offer to come there and try to get myself straightened to back up. So I went there. And when I went there, I went back to the methadone clinic. And I stayed on methadone, and I met a guy across the street who lived in a camper, and I'd get to go over there and drink and mix that with the methadone and just get messed up and just forget everything. So I just continued spiraling, and I started getting more arrests, and it started getting bad. Evidently not bad enough, but it was getting bad. I moved back. Now, at this time, my parents left West Tennessee and moved to East Tennessee here. And so I left Alabama. I come back here to be with my family, try to get off everything. But see, I was away from my kids then, and I had moved around so much. It was like I wasn't fighting for them. I was letting that addiction take a hold of me. And I used it as an excuse. And I would just think nobody understands the pain of this. I can't function, and my mom's like, you're never going to be any good for them, with the self-pity. And I remember that, and that comes to my mind a lot because she's right. And I just couldn't find it. Enough wasn't enough yet. And so it brings me to a lot happened, and I just kept getting bad off. And so it brings me to this last relapse because it was the worst, and it was rock bottom, and it was what changed me. You would think that rock bottom would be losing your children, but you don't know what your rock bottom is. You don't know till you hit it, and you don't know. You're lucky if you survive it. And so what happened, I went back to Alabama again. And this time, instead of pills, it was the meth. And I had to have it every day. And it it ate my soul up. It ate me up physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, any way you could think of. I was losing my mind, you know. I got where I'd cut myself, inflict pain on myself. You know, this is stuff the devil wants. He wants us to hate ourselves, you know, and to believe the lies. You know, I had I had left to Alabama. I forgot to mention running from drug court. I got put in drug court the first time and relapsed, and they offered me rehab. I went and I stayed 3 days and I left, and I went to Alabama. And I thought, okay, I've done it now. So I dove deep and I got really bad off, and that's where you see the picture of me. But I didn't think I was bad off. I thought I knew I was, but not like it really was. I was so messed up in my mind. My sister come all the way to Alabama. I wouldn't talk to my family. See, sin separates, and it does. It separates you from the Lord, and then the people that love you, the people that will support you and help you through. No, you don't want to be around that, because you know what you're doing. It just drives you in a black hole. You don't want to be around that. So, I wouldn't call them, and I wouldn't be there. I had to miss the birth of my nephew. I didn't get to be there for any of that. Mother's Day, I didn't call my mom. I had a black swollen eye I didn't want her to see. They knew something was not going well. It was bad if I wasn't going to even call, at least on those days. And so, anyway, one day, I had been so sick, I couldn't even get up off the couch. And I had done cut all my hair off. I had cut it so bad that they had to shave it. And I was laying on the couch in Alabama. It seemed like so far away from home. And all of a sudden, the door opens, and there's my sister standing on the front porch. And I'm like, whoa. And she just starts, she's got my nephew holding him. She hands him to my aunt, and I don't even get to really see him. I'm so sick at that point. But anyway, she comes in and sits beside me on the couch, starts bawling, and immediately just starts praying over me. And I'm like, what? I'm like, it's fine. She was like, you're coming back home. I said, Amber, I would rather die than come back. And I meant what I said at the time. And I was close to it. My kidneys were shutting down. But like my pee, my urine, the smell, you wouldn't believe the meth was just eating me up. And she said, you're coming home. And like I told her, I didn't want to. I believed the lies. See, I thought, oh no, do 6 months in jail. I can't do that. I'm going to stay here, whatever. And I didn't have nothing to fight for. It didn't feel like anymore. But somehow God worked it out and got me back. And I was not going to turn myself in, because I wasn't, the fear of jail and just facing the stuff. See, God, the devil knows what it's about to be, a turnaround. So he don't want you to. He's going to use that fear for you to run. And that's what I couldn't. But she had got me here. I was here, and the Lord got me here. But I could not turn myself in. I was staying at my boyfriend's house, and the police come in, bust in, and I went and hid in the closet. And they looked, and they kept looking, and they found me, and I went in. And I was in jail, and I had to sit still with this. And that is the hardest thing. And your skin crawls, and you don't want to be there. You don't want to be inside yourself. And this right here, this exact one also that Miss Katie gave me, become my light. And it is a light, and it still is my light. But I would get up when other girls were sleeping and stuff, because you need that quiet time. And I would get in my Bible, and I would be like, Lord, please just help me, you know. And I'd start reading. I thought for sure I'd be doing 6 months in jail, and I I would read it, and they wouldn't put. They still hadn't pulled me up for my court date yet. But I was like, Lord, this is in your hands. I'm not even gonna bug them about it. I don't, whatever happens, happens. And I really, really, really gave it to God. It wasn't. He knows our motives. He knows our heart. He's our creator, and it was different. It was different this time, and I was like, whatever it is, let's do this. And one day I was laying on my mat watching a movie and they called me up, and my lawyer talked to me, and they had kind of gotten my name mixed up or different things, and that's what took so long. But regardless, they were just supposed to be giving me a court date that day to come back. And while I was waiting in the back shackled up, all of a sudden around the corner here comes Randy Burge, and oh my gosh, my hair's shaved off, I'm thin, I'm shackled, and I look, rough, and I'm lost, real lost. And I remember he come around the corner and he had these crazy socks on, and but they made me smile, happy socks, I guess you could say. But he talked to me, and he didn't look at me like I was, I thought they'd be mad at me for leaving, and they had took me to this great rehab, and here I had just blew the chance, and the devil told me, nobody would accept that again, like you're messed up. But no, it wasn't true. And Becky come around, and I was like, Becky, please, I know I'm doing the 6 months, but when I get out, can I please, continue like being on the Vivitrol and come into, do the different programs, because I knew I'd need the support and help when I got out. And she was like, of course. And she had thought that I was going to do my time too. And anyway, I got to go in front of the judge. And this is the thing. I don't know how it happened. I know the Lord, when he says it's time, whatever it is. And the judge looked at me and asked me if I wanted to do the drug court again. And he called in Becky and Randy, and they gave me the 2 years over again, like a restart, another chance. And I remember my whole body shaking, and he was going to let me out that day. Right then, they said yes, they would take me. I couldn't believe it. And I didn't look at it like, oh gosh, now I've got to do this again. I looked at it like a real chance, like I get to do that. So he let me out, and I got to go in the back and call my mom, and I was like, Mom, I'm getting out. And I put on my clothes that I had, and I was sitting outside with no shoes on, in my socks, with my Bible and with little belongings, waiting for my mom to come get me. I still was unhealthy up here some. God had a lot of work to still do on me, and still does. But I went to my sister's pretty much like, hi, I'm here, and can I stay here, And she let me. And I remember, like, I still felt so unclean. Like, here's my baby nephew, and I was scared to hold him, and like I was unworthy, like scared to touch him and I didn't know how to be myself again when I got out. I was thinking, Lord, are you sure? I didn't think I was ready, because the meth had mentally messed me up this time. It was really bad. And I just kept on doing each day what I was supposed to. And my sister was going to United Church of God. And I started going, and I had to be there every time the doors opened. And it was, they embraced me at first. I still, like I said, felt unclean. But the more I went and got to worship and let that out, the more the Lord was working on me. And he was just starting to fill in those holes and help clean my mind back up, And I just kept doing my drug court stuff. And so I had a support system there, my family's support, and then also now a new church family. And so there God put all these people in my life, and feel love can do so much. And so it continued on, and I have went through a lot of different things. I still make mistakes, but I've been in a relationship, and I ended up being pregnant, finding out I was pregnant, and I was like, oh my gosh, First I was like, Lord, I'm not married. How dare I? Oh my gosh, I've messed up. This, all this. But see, the Lord, He forgives us. Yes, we turn away from it, but what He turns it for our good, and He did this for me. He did. He's turned this for my good. It is a blessing, and I found out that she's a girl, so she is a blessing from the Lord above, and everything's starting to circle back around. I've had to do a lot of work on myself. I still have to. Like I said, I'm not perfect. My life is still not totally together. When you picture it, see, He says, my thoughts are not your thoughts. And we have to remember that. I think, oh, it's supposed to be this way. I can't give my testimony. My boys ain't with me. I don't, have this or that. I'm not. But see, that's not the truth, because, He's brought me this far. It's still work in progress, but this is a daily walk, and you got to continue with Him, and when you do, He works it out for you, and He really, really does. When I first got out of jail, I didn't have my license. I had not had them for 9 years from that DUI I told you guys about, and I worked on that. Brooke Claiborne from Mountain People worked with me on that, and started helping me to set goals and actually follow through. And my grandfather and my mom took me to take my permit test, and I got to do my driving test that day. This was in October, and I got my driver's license back. And then, I was working at Takahata a lot, and I was able to get myself a vehicle. And so, those might be little things to some people, but they're very huge accomplishments for me. And I just am continuing to try to get my life together, but through Him. He's the only way I can. If not, it goes crazy. But like I said, our thoughts are not His, and so I think this picture, it should be everything right. But no, I have to say thank you, Lord. Thank you for protecting my boys while I went through this, Lord. Thank you for healing my mind, and maybe so we can restore a relationship one day. And with this pregnancy, I have learned from a lot of mistakes I've made. It's not fair to them. No, I trust that the Lord will make it right in the way it needs to be for them. But I will do everything I can to be the best mom that I can. I'm sorry, guys. Hold on. Because these children deserve it, and they don't deserve what we put them through. We're selfish, and the devil lies to us. And so, this little one, I'm going to do everything in my power through the Lord to be a great mom to her. And like I said, even though it might not look like it should, and things are done, like getting pregnant and me not being married, those things, I know that she's a blessing from the Lord, and I know that He is a God of second chances, and He will restore your life. It might not be the way you think it's going to be. It may not be in your time, because it's still all coming together for me. But you put Him first, and you hold on to Him with everything you got. All you have to do is talk to Him and pray. That's prayer, talking to Him. Be alone in your car, and sometimes if you feel like you can't talk to Him, then play songs that express how you feel to Him. because that's what I do, and it helps me so much. Find a good church to go to, and I hadn't been getting to go as much as I was used to going because I've been working in different things, but Oneida Church of God has been wonderful to me, and they're welcoming and understanding and loving, but whatever church God leads you to, and you go there, and you just keep creating these good people in your life. When God puts them in your life, you'll know it. Sometimes you want to isolate and push away, but no, they're in your life, and God put them there, and there's reasons for that. And there is hope, and being a good mom is my number one goal. I'm going to hold on to the Lord with everything I've got, and I'm going to keep on keeping on and doing this walk with Him. Like I said, everything may not always look perfect because we're not. There's only one that is. But He brought me from death to life. He saved me. He saved my soul. And I'm lucky enough to have a family and support system that love me so much. A recovery family that means everything to me. Going to these meetings are important. If you're lost out there and you need help, not only is your church family important, but find people in recovery that have been there, and we will help any way that we can. I know that sisters and brothers have reached out and helped me. It doesn't matter how far along you are in your walk. That's what it's for. And you go to these meetings and just, you keep on trying it. God will put people in your path, and the right ones. And, you just keep on trying. And that's about all I got. I'm just happy and honored that I could share my story. I hope that it can help someone just to know that if you've lost your kids in the system and things, you just tell the Lord how grateful you are for the time you had with them, and how grateful you are that they were protected, and just keep praying for Him to restore it. God, will work on you, and He'll make a way. It's just in His time, not ours. And I hope that if you're lost in the addiction, know that He is a chain breaker, and He is a way maker and a promise keeper. And that's one thing He says. He will never leave us. Other people let us down, but He will not. He's there, our rock. And that's the things I remember. Even when I can't understand the Bible, if you can just go to Psalms and find you a verse, you just hold on to that and read it. That's what I do. And I try to keep Him first in my life the best that I can, and just keep on making this thing happen. But I thank you guys for listening to me, and I hope that I have helped someone. I hope that you'll reach out if you need help, because there are so many people right here that will help you. And I love you guys. And thank y'all for having me.
First things first. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, Oneida Church of God, for loving on her. I believe with everything in me that's the difference maker. I think without a church loving on her, she'd be gone again. If we just realize how important it is to make people feel comfortable when they show up, no matter what church you go to. But find somebody that don't have nobody and be somebody for them. Changed my life. Going back in my home church and then welcoming me and loving on me, knowing how dirty I was. They loved on me anyway. Knowing who Ashley was, they loved on her anyway. And through that, Well, God's changed her life. It's a totally different girl. You see, said, I'm going to cry. That's just, I ain't got to do one of these in a little bit. I miss it. And I know yous do too, because these are real. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. I promise you, I had other people scheduled out other stuff that tried to do. And I messaged Ashley yesterday, and I think it works out, because if I'd have told her a week ago, she'd have drove herself crazy being nervous. But she showed up today and said she'd been beat up all day. Well, the devil's good at that. He'll scare you. You ain't worth talking. You ain't done nothing. You ain't going to be nothing. He's a liar. He's a liar. So, we like to thank Stan, of course, for allowing us to do this. Trent Coffee. Dr. Monty Burke's Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services for allowing us to do this. All you people that reach out and encourage these people, because I believe with everything in me, if we can get them to a church and let people love on them, show them the truth, and let God do his part, not us do God's part. Let God do his part, then that'll change their life. And then if we treat them like somebody, they might just be somebody. But I promise you this, if we keep treating them like trash, well, they're going to go back to what they know. I see it all the time. So thank you again, Oneida Church of God, Pastor Chuck Jeffers, and all of his church. I've been there, had a good time. And guess what? They loved on me too. Just like I was one of theirs. Made me feel at home. Made me feel welcome. That means the world to me. So, hey, we thank every one of you. We love you. I'm done. I'm good. I'm going to go over here and cry with my sister for a little bit and get out of the way. So, hey, we'll see you next week. We should have another good one. Listen, when God does it, he does it all the way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I'll be breaking down.